The $1 Million Night, NFL star, X-ray cheats, and the Mafia's new game. Welcome back to the Justice and Injustice channel, where we uncover the most disturbing secrets of true crime cases. Imagine this. You're invited to a private, high-stakes poker game. The kind of game where you don't worry about the money, you worry about your reputation. And the lure? The ultimate stamp of legitimacy? A professional athlete is sitting at the table. A star you recognize. A face you trust. That simple celebrity lure, that badge of honor, is exactly what brought one man, we'll call him the Source, and his friends to a table one horrifying night. But this wasn't a game of cards. It was a carefully constructed trap. A dark room where they were about to be systematically stripped of their money, their dignity, and their sense of safety. In a single, terrifying night, the Source and his poker buddies were fleeced out of nearly $1 million. You've heard the headlines about the explosive NBA gambling scandal. A federal indictment naming a massive crime ring, pro basketball players like Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones, and sophisticated cheating tech. But here's the terrifying truth we're uncovering today. The scandal you thought was limited to basketball? It's far, far bigger. Because the Source says the face card who lured him in wasn't an NBA player at all. It was an ex-NFL star. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The lure of the face card. An NFL player's betrayal. The language used by the fixers is chillingly clinical. Guys like our anonymous Source? They were the fish, and the star athletes, the ones who gave the whole operation a velvet glove of legitimacy? They were the face cards, they were the bait. And the bait worked perfectly. The Source was clear. He and his group were invited to a really solid group of people. He says, quote, "We would never have been there if not for the professional athlete." He refuses to name the former NFL player. The legal and personal risk is simply too high, but the presence of that jock was the only reason they trusted the room. It gave a dangerous criminal enterprise the veneer of an exclusive, harmless celebrity event. He said it himself. During the game, we were around a bunch of bad guys, and they were trying to suck every bit away from us. And they did. They did a good job. And I'm still shell-shocked to this day from that night. This shocking claim the expansion into the NFL means the tentacles of this massive cheating ring reach far deeper into professional sports than prosecutors have let on. Think about the implications. If an NFL player was being used as a lure, how many other sports, how many other victims are still waiting in the dark? The common denominator, the despicable Curtis Meeks. Now, the federal indictment is a sprawling document naming 31 defendants, including members of 4 notorious New York Mafia families, the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese. It's a rogues gallery of mobsters like Thomas Tommy Juice Gallardo and the sickening Nicholas Fat Nick Minucci. But the one name that links the Source's $1 Million NFL disaster directly to the NBA scandal is a man named Curtis Meeks of Texas. Meeks was named in the federal indictment as a major supplier of the cheating machines, the high-tech gear that made this all possible. And according to the Source, Meeks wasn't just a supplier to the ring. He was a main participant in the rigged game that bilked him and his buddies. Listen to the sheer, unfiltered hatred in the Source's voice when he talks about Meeks. Quote, "Meeks is the most despicable human I've ever been around in my entire life," he continued, his voice heavy with betrayal. "The level he will go to get other people's money is just disgusting. I've since found out that what he's done to us, he's done to many other people." This was not a freak occurrence. Meeks, described by a gambling insider as supposedly being an amateur boxer and operating with the shtick of being a jeweler, was a predator, an engineer of pain, and a constant in a nationwide web of deception that stretches from a Manhattan high-rise all the way down to Texas. The night everything changed. A descent into suspicion. Let's walk through the red flags. The little shifts that turned a night of excitement into a night of growing, cold dread. The source and his group were initially set to play at a public location, a place with witnesses, a sense of accountability. But at the last minute, the venue was abruptly changed. They were rerouted to the NFL player's high-rise apartment, isolated, private. Door closing behind them was the click of a lock. Once inside, the host made the first power move. They raised the buy-in from $10,000 to $20,000, doubling the potential loss, doubling the stakes. The fish were already swimming deeper into the tank. But the biggest warning sign? They didn't even exchange cash to get into the game. They were given chips on a credit basis payable afterwards. They had no idea they were already in debt. They didn't realize they were borrowing money from men connected to the New York Mafia. And then there was the poker itself, the game that wasn't a game. The source claimed that all the winning hands went to the same 4 guys who were in on the scam. A statistical impossibility, a pattern too dark to ignore. He said, "We knew that it was a device because of how they would push. It wasn't like a thing where they could see the backs of cards. It was like, let's go all in before any cards even come out." The fixers were so confident in their cheating technology that they didn't even bother to play it safe. They just went for the throat. X-ray tables and the science of cheating. This isn't your grandfather's card hustle. This is a terrifying, modern machine of deception. The indictment lays bare the stunning sophistication of this cheating ring. Imagine sitting at a table, believing in the luck of the draw, when in reality, you are at the mercy of X-ray vision. Prosecutors claim the victims were seated at tables equipped with hidden X-ray cameras capable of reading face-down cards. The fixers knew your hand before you even looked at it. But it didn't stop there. They used rigged shuffling machines, engineered to predict which players had the best hands. This information was then relayed to off-site operators, who would subtly signal the accomplices at the table. And the stuff of spy movies? It was real. The scheme involved marked cards that were completely invisible to the human eye, only readable through specially designed contact lenses or sunglasses. These guys weren't playing poker. They were running a clinical technological assassination of your bank account. When one of the source's friends recognized the scam and called out the group, trying to leave, he was met with the real muscle behind the operation. The charming athletes vanished, and the mobsters took center stage. The aftermath: weeks of terror and trust lost. Escaping the apartment was just the beginning of their nightmare. Because you see, the men running this game were not just rich. They were connected. They had muscle, and they had a way of collecting debts. For weeks, the victims were subjected to relentless demands. The fear ratcheted up, day by day, call by call. The source recalled, they wouldn't let up in trying to get their money. It got scarier and scarier. Serious threats were made. Ultimately, we just agreed to pay them. They paid nearly $1 million. A financial wound that will take a lifetime to heal. But the source says the real price wasn't the money. The real punishment, he says, is the paranoia. Quote, "Moving forward is the real punishment, because there's a paranoia now. There's a constant turn in my mind. Something is happening. I've been around so long, playing poker, and I am fine with losing, but I have no tolerance for cheating. That is the true, dark cost of this scam. The simple, childlike trust in the game itself, gone forever." The mob's new address. They never left. They just moved upstairs. The sheer scale of this operation required more than just crook dealers and a few tech guys. It required infrastructure. It required the mafia. The federal indictment reveals that this entire scheme, which allegedly bled victims for over $7 million, was masterminded by members and associates of New York's notorious Italian-American mafia clans. We're talking about the Bonanno, the Gambino, the Genovese, and the Lucchese families. In the old days, the mob ran the streets. They controlled the ports, The construction, the garbage routes, they were visible. But as former undercover FBI agent Joe Cantamessa noted, the mob didn't die. It simply adapted. Their control of the city waned, but their hunger for illicit profit remained. The old joke is true. The Mafia didn't leave New York. They just moved upstairs. These games unfolded in lavish Kips Bay apartments and even a $17 million townhouse in Greenwich Village linked to the Gambino family. The victims weren't lured into a dark back room of a social club. They were brought to a gleaming, high-end apartment building. The perfect camouflage. As former Gambino mobster Louis Ferranti warned, these sophisticated predators use the luxury and the celebrity to lure people into a world they don't belong in. They feed on the desire for bragging rights, for the feeling of being an alpha, of being seen hanging out with a star athlete. He put it chillingly simply, these guys are predators. Everybody's prey to them. The billions at risk. The NBA's gamble. The fallout from this scandal, which now stretches from the NBA to the alleged use of an NFL star, is a financial catastrophe waiting to happen. Gaming law experts warn that the league's integrity and its bottom line are at risk. The exposure to the NBA is estimated at billions of dollars in litigation and brand damage. As one expert, Mark Dunbar, put it, the risk is definitely 9 figures and could be 10 figures. The NBA has embraced sports betting, aligning itself with massive gambling companies. This cozy relationship opens the door to massive lawsuits from aggrieved gamblers who feel the integrity of the game has been compromised. If you bet on an NBA game and then discover the players were involved in any type of illicit betting or fixing, the foundation of the sport collapses. And the victims of the poker ring, like the source, are only the tip of the iceberg. The charges against Billups and Jones were clear. They were face cards. They were the bait. Meanwhile, other players, like Miami Heat point guard Terry Rozier, were allegedly tipping off friends about injuries' insider information so they could place bets before the public knew. The fix is in, whether it's a high-tech poker table or a tip about a sprained ankle. The reality is simple. When you get in bed with sports betting and gambling, as Pistons coach J.B. Bickerstaff warned, all money ain't good money. The constant shadow. This scandal is not a simple story of a few bad apples. It's a terrifying look at a sophisticated, technologically advanced criminal enterprise that uses the lure of celebrity as its greatest weapon. It's the Mafia, evolved. It's a multi-million-dollar scam that links NBA coaches, professional football players, sophisticated tech suppliers, and the cold, unyielding violence of New York's organized crime families. The cost is astronomical. Financially, legally, and most tragically, personally. The loss of $1 million is devastating, but the loss of trust, the constant paranoia that the source now lives with, is the greater, unpayable debt. The shadows of New York's underworld still linger, woven into the fabric of its highest-end apartments and its biggest sports leagues. They just found a new, more dangerous way to play the game. And as long as there are stars willing to be the bait, there will always be fish ready to swim into the trap.